Welcome to the penultimate weekend of racing in the 2021 GT Cup Championship, and we're back at Donington Park once again. Under somewhat grey skies, things were a little bit different though yesterday. Let's bring you up to speed with what happened.
In the first race of the weekend, the Team Amber Mercedes in the hands of Richard Neary would start from pole position, but on the charge up towards Redgate Corner, he would run wide, and that would put the car down through the order. In the early stages, there was a great fight going on for the lead of Group GTH. Jox Jackson coming under pressure from Charles Clark, whilst equally as much the Porsche was under pressure from Tom Rawlings. The Porsche slower coming out of Redgate Corner. Tom Rawlings would take the opportunity to squeeze the McLaren through up to second in Group GTH. In towards the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin, Mark Hopton was tagged in the rear by Seamus Jennings at the wheel of the Top Cat Racing Porsche. The McLaren would continue, whilst Richard Neary was still trying to carve his way through the order following his off at turn number 1, up the inside of John Dillon's Lamborghini, down at the old hairpin. Steve Burgess at the wheel of the Raw Motorsports Radical RXC had taken up the lead of the race, but he was under pressure from Morgan Tilbrook in the GT3 McLaren. In a straight line, however, the extra power of the Group GTO Radical would tell, and the local man from Nottingham would hang on to the lead of the race. Steve Burgess could never really shake off Morgan Tilbrook, but he did just enough to bring home the Radical for its first overall win of the season in the GT Cup Championship. In the pit stop race, it would be Morgan Tilbrook and Richard Neary that would start from the front row of the grid. The Mercedes would just get its nose ahead as they went up towards Redgate Corner, but contact further back as Graham Tilley got into the back of John Dillon's Lamborghini would see the Nissan offered into the gravel, the safety car out, and John Dillon's car in need of recovery. Graham Tilley, however, would limp the Nissan back to the pit lane with front right-hand damage. With the incident cleared up, we would get the race back underway, and straight away Ben Dimmock was looking to try and gain a place. Up to third the Radical would go, and gaining a place over the GCAT Racing Porsche in the hands of Seamus Jennings. The sister car from GCAT this weekend in the hands of David Shaw would dive up the inside of the number 41 Lamborghini, heading in towards the Melbourne hairpin and pick up additional places. The pit window would open into the pit lane, they would all file, and with the Nearys having additional success seconds in the pit lane, the pendulum was always going to swing in favour of the number 66 McLaren, which was about to be taken over by former British GT champion Marcus Clutton. A spin out on track at Coppice Corner for the Fox Motorsport Ginetta would see the car get pointing in the right direction and continue in the race, but further incidents out on circuit would again bring back out the safety car, bunch the field up, and the race would get back underway with some of the cars, in particular Simon Orange in his Ginetta, bearing the scars of a hard race. More problems for the Fox Motorsport Ginetta, this time off and into the gravel trap, I'm afraid to say. And James Townsend would be able to dig his way back out, but Morgan Tilbrook and Marcus Clutton would be on course for their first overall race win, having largely raced in GTH this season. First weekend of racing in GT3, they claim the win.
So those were your highlights from yesterday's 2 races. We'll have the same 2 races for you today. Slightly different weather though. Now this weekend, the GT Cup welcomes 2 new teams and cars, which is always nice. The first is a father and son duo. We've had the Proctors, we've had the Nearys, now we bring you the Lynns. Ron Stewart, welcome to the GT Cup. Now, it's your first time racing with us this weekend, but you've got a fair few championships under your belts between you, haven't you? Give us your history and your background.
I started quite late, actually, 2 or 3 years ago in the GRDC Ginetta Championship. I'd never raced before, so I did 3 years in that, in the G40 Cup. Yeah. And this was just a one-off we decided to do. Just to give it a father and son tryout, yes,
yeah,
yes.
It's lovely. And Stuart, what about you? What have you been up to?
The last 10 years, pretty much nothing. Before that, I was doing a bit of karting and racing some Ginettas. And after kind of focusing on business for the past 10 years, we thought we'd come out and have a bit of fun with the Optimum Motorsport guys.
Is that right, that you've actually raced in British GT before?
Yeah, some time ago, when I was a lot younger and a lot faster. 2008, so yeah, 13 years ago. So I've not really done much since. So yeah, we thought we'd come back out and then have a go in the McLaren.
Yeah. So what was it? What was the real reason you decided after, especially for you for such a long time, to give it a go again?
Just have a bit of fun with my dad, really, in the car. We've both done a bit of racing. Sean at Optimum Motorsport said we've got a spare car. Do you fancy having a go in the McLaren? And yeah, the offer was in. It was too tempting. So yeah, it's great to be in the car with my dad and trading lap times and trading information from the car. It's just a bit of fun, really, for us.
Yeah. And Ron, how have you found racing the McLaren as opposed to, say, the Ginettas that you've been doing?
Yeah, a big massive difference, yes. The biggest difference for me was the left-hand drive and slicks, because normally we're on cut slicks. So, yeah, big difference, yeah. Far better braking, more power and everything, yeah. So, yeah, really good.
And how have you found the GT Cup as a championship? I know it's only your second day with us, but how have you found it so far?
It's very welcoming. We'll be speaking to the other guys in the garages, the other McLaren drivers, and everybody's very friendly, willing to give a bit of advice, which you don't normally see in motorsport. So, no, it's been great so far. So, hopefully we can have a good race today, and maybe look to do another one in the future.
Our second new car is one that's already been out in the Porsche Cayman series this year. It's the number 74 into racing of Charles Clark and Ben Barker. Hello, guys. So, first of all, what brings you to the GT Cup?
Well, initially I'm doing Porsche Sprint Challenge, which is sprint races. So I wanted to try out endurance racing, and obviously with Ben, it's a great championship to try it, really.
Well, sorry we've had to cut that interview short, but the cars have already been released onto the formation lap. Let me very quickly guide you through the grid. Number 88, Sam Neary, starts from pole position. 33, Seamus Jennings sits alongside at the wheel of the Porsche. It's Morgan Tilbrook's McLaren and John Dillon's Lamborghini on row number 2. The first non-GT3 car is on row number 3. That's the Radical that is Ben Dimmock in this race alongside Graham Tilley's Nissan. And row 4 is the first Group GTC car, which is David Short's Porsche alongside the number 9 car of Warren Gilbert, the Lamborghini. The next row of the grid sees the first of the Group GTA cars, which is the Ginetta of Simon Orange, alongside 56, which is Roy Millington's Ferrari. Row 6 is Charles Clark, who we were just hearing from at the wheel of that Porsche Cayman. Apologies to Charles, we've had to cut your interview short. He is the leading Group GTH car that we've got in the field for the GT4 homologated cars. He has got for company number 1, Josh Jackson. And the 7th row of the grid is number 80, Craig Wilkins, alongside number 90, Mike Price. Row 8 is 44, John Whitehouse, and 82, James Guest. Row 9 is 77, Mark Hopton, and 24, Andrew Borodin. And the 10th row of the grid is 23, Ian Campbell, and 113, which is Tom Webb. But we'll probably have to leave it there because the cars are about to work their way up towards the start-finish line, where the red lights will be on the gantry, and we are very shortly about to get this next race underway here. Round 19 of the championship underway at Donington Park. Sam Neary from pole position will propel the ABBA Mercedes down towards the start-finish line and up towards Redgate Corner. Seamus Jennings slots into second place, ahead of Morgan Tilbrook, who's there in third position, but 36 cars having qualified this morning. James Guest with a bit of a wiggle at the wheel of the Aston Martin, which was damaged yesterday going over one of these new curbs as he tried to avoid a car that was having an issue in front of him. Great to see that car has been repaired, because it missed the pit stop race yesterday because of the damage that was caused to the front end of the car. And as we say, it was not through his own fault. He was trying to avoid a car ahead of him that was having a problem. The other car to watch out for is the McLaren Can-Am of Paul Bailey that only did 4 laps in qualifying. It's a car that Paul has only raced once before prior to this weekend. It was damp in qualifying this morning, and he didn't want to risk what is a very valuable car and one of only 3 that were ever produced. So that car there, number 28, in drier conditions now, in the hands of the former Group champion Paul Bailey, should work its way through the order. He's mixed amongst the Group GTH cars at the moment, but at the wheel of his McLaren, the Can-Am, based on the MP412C, but with more aero and more power, was produced initially for what was scheduled to be a series in America, but it never really took off. So that car should thread its way past the lesser powered cars. But for the lead of the race, Sam Neary leading earlier on. Great battles all the way down through the order, as is always the case in the GT Cup Championship. Over the start-finish line comes Sam Neary. He's got daylight between himself and Seamus Jennings. Nice to see Seamus back in the championship. He's done a couple of rounds with us so far this year. Morgan Tilbrook there in 3rd place. John Dillon in 4th. It's going to be Ben Dimmock that sits there in 5th place. Warren Gilbert threading his way through and past the number 67 Ginetta of Simon Orange, who is looking to try and go wheel-to-wheel with Roy Millington's Ferrari. So Lamborghini, Ginetta, Ferrari, Porsche that sits behind that. And such variety in the GT Cup Championship, you can regularly see, if not 10, maybe 12 or even more marks represented on the grid. And that is certainly the case this weekend. So, first lap already ticked into the book. I think everybody safely made it through the first lap of the race by the look of things. I don't think there was anybody that didn't complete the first lap of the race. It's all largely gone to plan so far in what are improving conditions. They certainly one heck of a lot drier than it was for their qualifying session this morning. James Guest looking to sneak the Aston Martin up the inside of Mike Price, we just saw there. Also, the Webb's Lamborghini, Tom Webb driving in this race, looking to work its way through. We saw a great dive yesterday from Tom at the wheel of that light blue Lamborghini. Now here comes James Guest again. This time, has he got the run on Mike Price? Yes, he has. Should go through and ahead of the Bolf Motorsport McLaren. Up the inside he goes. Place gained by James Guest. That will please him after the problems that car had yesterday, and that should now put him up to, I think, third in Group GT8 really. And Mike Price already coming under attack from the next of the cars, which is going to be the number 44 McLaren of John Whitehouse that sits behind. John Whitehouse has got Nick Phelps, isn't it, behind him? Nick Phelps leading Group GTB at this stage. Up the inside of John Whitehouse, former champion. He's going to lose a place to Nick Phelps, and for Nick, it's important points for him if he continues to lead the group, because there is a separate sprint challenge just for the sprint races, and Nick Phelps is the overall championship leader in that at the moment. He eases the Group GTB Porsche past the Group GTH McLaren of Mike Price as well, so further place gain there overall in the race for Nick Phelps, but it doesn't net him any more championship points as it's a different group car that he's gone through. Now this fight here is for the final place inside the top 10. This is Simon Orange, who has been picked off by Charles Clark that time through. So Charles Clark now up to 9th, Simon Orange down into 10th, whilst this car here, Sam Neary, leads. And last time through on the first flying lap, Sam set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 28.918 from Sam Neary. That is a little slower than Morgan Tilbrook managed in the pit stop race yesterday, but it is just the first flying lap for Sam, who was declared a BRDC Rising Star earlier on this season. The G-Cat Racing Porsche of Seamus Jennings running second at the moment. Morgan Tilbrook in the McLaren still third. John Dillon fourth. All of those top 4 cars in Group GT3. The Radical of Ben Dimmock for this race runs in Group GTO. So it's the first non-Group GT3 car that we've got in the field at the moment, as Sam Neary betters the fastest lap of the race. Now 1 minute 28.523 is 2 1,000ths of a second slower than Morgan Tilbrook managed in the pit stop race yesterday, so that is almost the fastest lap that we've had in race conditions all weekend, but only losing out by 2 1,000ths of a second to Morgan Tilbrook's time from yesterday. So down through the Craner curves and the old hairpin goes John Dillon. All of the time Ben Dimmock looking to try and work his way into contention, the former Mini Challenge racer and Radical champion Ben Dimmock. Tom Webb at the wheel of the 113 Lamborghini has come from 20th on the grid and is now up into, I think that's 14th position now. So 4 places gained on just that lap that we've just had. So the Lamborghini starting to work well here. Quite a few Lamborghinis running this weekend, as is ever the case, all in Group GTC. But that car there is not one of the Evo cars, it's one of the slightly older Super Trofeo spec cars. And at the moment he's bottled up behind Nick Phelps, who is leading his group, so Nick should just let the Lamborghini go. He doesn't really need to fight for the position because he can let the Lamborghini go and it doesn't alter the amount of championship points that he's going to scoop up in this race. So 19 minutes to go of the scheduled 25. Tom Webb at the wheel of the Lambo, working his way out of Coppice Corner, underneath the point at which the Dunlop Bridge used to be, into the braking area for the S's. Avoid the new curbs through this section of the circuit. Now this fight for second and third is just starting to close up a little bit more. Sam Neary might be setting the fastest laps of the race with a 1 minute 28.369, so that is now the fastest lap that we've had all weekend in race conditions in the GT Cup. But Seamus Jennings on the previous lap was about 0.6 of a second slower than yesterday's man who qualified that McLaren so well, and that car has been going well all weekend. It finished second in the sprint race yesterday. It finished first in the pit stop race when Marcus Clutton jumped on board to share the car with Morgan Tilbrook. But Morgan has been driving superbly well this weekend and is now hot on the heels of Seamus Jennings to see whether he can apply the pressure and squeeze the McLaren through. So Mercedes leads Porsche from McLaren and Lamborghini. That's the top 4. Radical in 5th position. Another Porsche there in 6th place. Lamborghini 7th, Ferrari 8th, Porsche 9th, Ginetta 10th. That's the order of the top 10 currently. And we've got 5 different marques represented inside the top 5 at the moment. Seamus Jennings onto the brakes, the man from Northern Ireland. Still under pressure, still looking to try and hang on to the position. Elsewhere down through the order, car number 1 is Josh Jackson. Now that doesn't lead Group GTH at the moment. Charles Clark's Porsche is leading Group GTH. That's the number 74 car. He's 2 or 3 places ahead. For Tom Webb, though, progress still continues. That is now up to 11th position, I think that will be. So that is Craig Wilkins. He went through a pass, but then he runs wide, coming out of the S's. The Lamborghini onto the grass, and Craig Wilkins at the wheel of the Ginetta sneaks his way straight back through once more. And also the number 1 McLaren of Josh Jackson manages to squeeze its way through. For how much longer, though, the McLaren will hang on to the place, I doubt, because the extra grunt of the Lamborghini has already told. And I think we'll see Tom Webb certainly back past that, and probably back past Craig Wilkins as well before too much longer. Now, for 2nd position, Seamus Jennings is doing a good job of just making sure he keeps the Porsche where he needs it to be, which prevents the McLaren from threading its way through. New fastest lap of the race for Sam Neary, 1 minute 28.172. We've also now got Ben Dimmock in the Radical, look ahead of the Lamborghini of John Dillon, so that's been a change for order. Up to 4th for the Radical, down to 5th for the number 61 Lamborghini of John Dillon. That's a Group GTO car passing a Group GT3 car, so again for John Dillon, yes, lost the place, no, doesn't lose any further championship points. And as I mentioned yesterday, if you were watching, not every car in the field is running the full championship season, so some of them are just invitational class cars, so whilst they will feature on podium presentations and trophy presentations, they won't scoop up championship points. So for instance, the car in 2nd place and the car in 3rd place, Seamus Jennings and Morgan Tilbrook, are invitational class cars for this weekend, so they will be ignored in terms of championship point scoring. So John Dillon, down in 5th position, running 4th in Group GT3, would still pick up the points for 2nd in Group GT3 because there are 2 cars ahead of him that are non-championship scoring. Sounds confusing, but it works. It encourages people to do the full championship in GT Cup, which is already, I gather, thriving potentially for the 2022 championship season. Down in towards the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin comes the McLaren Can-Am of Paul Bailey. How much progress has he made from its starting position? He was 20th as he came over the start-finish line last time through the orange McLaren. And Paul Bailey started down in 33rd position, so a good drive through the order again from him. Now, the McLaren GT4s getting themselves together. David Holloway's Aston Martin just off the back. That's a great little fight that's coming over the start-finish line. That is going to be headed by the number 23 Greystone McLaren that has been re-liveried for this weekend. So Ian Campbell under pressure, sneak his way up the inside, goes the Paddock Motorsport McLaren in the hands of Mo Ritson. So Mo Ritson, the former junior saloon car racer, grabbing the place away, and that will mean he is now up to 22nd position, and that is a fight for, unbelievably, 7th and 8th in Group GTH. Group GTH has proved to be so popular and so competitive. Now Morgan Tilbrook, the McLaren almost pushing the Porsche round through Goddard's corner. Over the start-finish line now will thread their way. Still 14 minutes in this race to go. Our race leader Sam Neary still leading. Back to Group GTH, David Holloway behind Ian Campbell, but also under attack from Stuart Lim. We spoke to Stuart just on the run into this race. Great to see Stuart back racing, twice a former champion in the Ginetta G20 series, a former GT4 champion in British GT as well was Stuart. He drives the number 21 Optimum Motorsport car that is, with its lights on, weaving around. And then the next 2 cars behind Stuart Lynn will be Carl Cavers and the number 118 car, the Fox Motorsport Ginetta, driven by Ian Duggan in this race. Ian, another driver new to GT Cup for this season. Now Morgan Tilbrook weaving one way, weaving the other, anything to try and distract Seamus Jennings, and I think, is the McLaren going to go through? Yes, it does. Midway through Coppice Corner, through goes the McLaren, but Seamus Jennings fighting back in a straight line and has the inside line for the all-important S's. The nose of both cars dip at exactly the same time, and Morgan Tilbrook outbrakes himself, and then as he rejoins, he makes contact with the tail end of the Radical of Ben Dimmock. That has caused, I think, rear suspension damage to the Radical. Morgan Tilbrook has got front corner damage to it, and Well, that was Morgan just making a small mistake going into the chicane and perhaps didn't quite realise what was going on around him as he came out. So I think that Enduro Motorsport McLaren, yeah, you can see the big bite out of it on the front left corner of that car. Should be able to limp the car back round into the pit lane, but I'm afraid to say that's going to be it for Morgan. And it's certainly going to be it for the Raw Motorsport Radical of Ben Dimmock, who was a bit of an innocent party there, just met a car that had made a mistake at the wrong point, and the two of them made contact, and hopefully that Radical is not stricken in the middle of the track. Progress for Paul Bailey still continues as well. He is running second in Group GTO, and as we say, that car may well, oh no, it is still stricken in the middle of the track, I'm afraid to say. So that is surely going to have to be a safety car. The Enduro Motorsport McLaren heads towards the pit lane. And the Radical is going, so well done to Ben Dimmock. He will not be happy with what's happened, but at least he's got the car out of harm's way, which should now prevent a safety car from needing to come out. And you can see the damage to the front left corner of that McLaren. The Enduro Motorsport crew will have to go to work to sort that car out for the pit stop race later on. As for the Radical, Ben is doing a really sensible job of keeping the car off the track, actually. So Morgan Tilbrook out of the car. Sam Neary safely on his way and leading by 17.5 seconds, Sam Neary. Now he's got a huge chunk of traffic to deal with now. So past Ian Duggan's car, past the Porsche of Carl Cavers. The next of the cars he'll want to get past is Stuart Lynn's Porsche. Stuart Lynn's McLaren, rather, I should say. As the GT3 McLaren of Morgan Tilbrook is pushed back into the garage, and even in sympathy, bits of the car falling off, I'm afraid, for what happened out there on track. But looks as though that car, I'm sure, will be repaired. And the Radical's in as well, so Ben Dimmock has not unsurprisingly brought the Raw Motorsport Radical into the pit lane as well. Now, Paul Bailey's progress we were talking about. He's now in 16th position. James Simons in the number 41 Group GTC Lamborghini is the next of the cars that he wants to pick off, and that is the car that currently lies 5th in Group GTC, James Simons. The extra guns of the McLaren will tell. The Can-Am goes through and past, does it? On the run in towards the corner? No. Paul Bailey, I think, just driving it with a little bit of discretion in what is a very rare and very, very valuable car. As I mentioned yesterday, even some of the teams that run McLarens have never seen a McLaren Can-Am. Yes, it might look like an MP4 12C, but entirely different rear wing. It's got more power, it's got more aero, and it is one of just 3 cars that were ever built. Now, Sam Neary has got traffic to deal with here. James Simons, he wants to try and work his way by. The Radical is, well, I would say not sorted. That car still looks to be crabbing, to say the least, as though a rear toe link is perhaps not broken, but bent. Sam Neary passed Mike Price's car up the inside of James Guess at the wheel of the Feathers Motorsport car. And then there'll be more traffic to deal with. Now, that Radical is still not going. I'm wondering whether they're just trying to limp it round just to pick up some sort of championship points, but driving a car that is crabbing around for 10 minutes is not going to be fun for Ben Dimmock. It is going to be way off the pace, and he just needs to stay out of harm's way. That's what he's trying to do, but I think Ben will realise that perhaps the most sensible thing will be park it in the pit lane next time through. So race leader about to catch here the 14th place car of Paul Bailey. Sam will dive up the inside of the McLaren in towards Coppice Corner and start to stretch his legs again. Now, this number 88 ABBA Racing Mercedes has already claimed numerous overall victories so far this season in the hands of whether it be Sam Neary or Richard Neary, subject to whether it's a sprint race and just one driver is behind the wheel, or collectively when they've raced in the pit stop races. We'll have one of those coming up later on. It is also the car that, in terms of the overall championship, leads as well. So they have picked up top points in all bar, I think, 3 races so far this season. It has been a mega season for them. Now, this battle here is going to be Roy Millington now, who is in 6th position, under attack from James Webb, who, remember, has come from 20th on the grid. Roy Millington started 10th and is up to 6th, but Tom Webb started 20th and is up to 7th. And we saw a drive like this from him yesterday in the pit stop race before the car then had a puncture later on and had to retire, sadly. So Ferrari under attack, and is he going to work his way through? Yes, he is. So up to third in Group GTC, and sixth overall now goes Tom Webb. The next car that's just up the road will be Warren Gilbert, who is second in Group GTC at the moment. Group GTC is being led by the fourth place car, the number 25 Porsche, in the hands of David Shaw. So this is the next car that the light blue Lamborghini is going to want to try and attack. Now, the good thing for Warren Gilbert is that whilst he might be second in the group and fifth overall, the number 25 Porsche ahead of him, David Shaw, is an invitational class car. So this car, the number 9 Lamborghini, might finish second in the group, but the car ahead of it is non-championship scoring, so Warren would still get maximum championship points. And that will please Jensen Lund, who he has regularly shared the car with over the course of this season, but due to having had a significant operation earlier on this week, he is in hospital recovering at the moment, so not able to drive and perhaps out for the season. I don't think we'd see him in 2 weeks' time at Snetterton. Hopefully his health will be there, but I think it would be foolish after what's been a major operation to head to race at Snetterton. Now there is Ben Dimmock. He is back in the pit lane. Off has come the crash helmet, chatting to Steve Burgess, and yeah, you can see the disappointment in Ben's face there. So that is enormously frustrating for them. Now the Feathers Motorsport Aston Martin here coming under pressure from the 44 McLaren. This is all the Group GTH hordes of cars. Mo Ritson is in on the mix as well, looking to try and squeeze his way through at the wheel of the number 26 McLaren. Now where is this going to be? The leading Group GTH car we've got at the moment is going to be way up the road. That is Charles Clark, still the number 74 car, but James Guess is, what, third in Group GTH. He's got Mo Ritson right behind him. John Whitehouse at the wheel of number 44 Signature RV McLaren is not too far away as well, just having lost out to Mo Ritson. So this will be third, fourth and fifth in Group GTH, and something like 16th, 17th and 18th places overall. And if anything, they are at the moment lapping a little bit quicker than the Group GTC Lamborghini that lies ahead of them. Mike Price is then the next of the cars, Mark Hopton, Ian Campbell, and there, that's Nick Phelps who is off. Nick Phelps with some sort of problem with the Group GTB Porsche. Maybe he's outbraked himself, but that's the driver that is leading the group, but is also leading the sprint championship standings, and he's having to reverse the Porsche to get it pointing in the right direction to then try and continue in the race. And has he lost the lead of the group with all of that? I'm not sure he will have done, because he had quite a significant advantage in terms of where he was compared to the other cars in Group GTB. Now the Group GTH hordes of cars are getting lapped at the moment by Seamus Jennings, who at the wheel of his Porsche is running in second position. John Dillon also now having to lap the cars as well, as he sits there in third place with 5 minutes to go. You can see how busy it is as the Porsche mixes itself amongst the numerous GT4 McLarens that we've got in the field, and the Aston Martins, all of which are GT4 homologated cars, so they all run in the GTH category, which was introduced a couple of seasons ago now into the GT Cup Championship. And for Tom Webb, the progress still continues as well. That light blue Lamborghini is now up into sixth place and is still lapping quicker than Jensen Lund. So there goes Jensen Lund, there goes Tom Webb. 4.5 minutes to go. Gap from Lamborghini to Lamborghini is 5.036 seconds at the moment. And Tom Webb last time through was about 3 seconds quicker. So all is going beautifully to plan at the moment. Qualifying might not have done, but come race, it absolutely is. And there is Warren Gilbert. There is Tom Webb. So over the start-finish line goes the Brook Valeting supported car, turning its way through the right-hander at Redgate Corner. What might Tom Webb be able to do? He's got to catch and then get past Warren Gilbert. There's Mo Ritson, I'm afraid. Mo's had a problem. That number 26 guy had been going really, really well. He was running third in Group GTH and was at the head of that enormous squabble that we were looking at. Now, was that a mistake or not? Now, there's Richard Neary watching on, watching son Sam leading the race. Big smile on his face as he gives us a wave. He'll be pleased with Sam's performance again. Sam, who certainly, as soon as he jumped in a car, really, he was only 16 years of age when he started racing, was Sam Neary, and was, well, more than relatively young when he drove a GT3 car for the first time. He was, just 17 years of age, I think, when he drove a GT3 car for the first time. He's only 19 now, is Sam, and is not scheduled to have his 20th birthday until, end of April next year. I think he turns 20, so still a teenager, and a very talented one at that, leading by 35 seconds now in the car that leads the race and leads the overall championship. And for Sam and Richard Neary, it is a car that has given them a bit of trouble over the course of this season. On a couple of occasions they've had problems with it and have had to deal with those issues. The car's been reshelled mid-season as well, following a crash in the British GT Championship at Spa-Francorchamps. But through all of the troubles that they've had, they've still managed to amass a very consistent championship season. Now this is Nick Phelps. Remember, he had an off, didn't he, and lost a raft of ground. Well, he's now got the car of Charlotte Gilbert, the Marcos, right behind him, and that's going to be full position, 24th and 25th place, and that'll be for the lead of Group GTB. So Charlotte, with arguably the oldest car in the field, and it's a bit of a brute to drive. She's the only female that we've got in the field this weekend. No ABS, no traction control, a car that is, 20 years, 25 years old now. Top Cat's still doing a great job, but Nick Phelps, not only with that one mistake, but also snatching a break there as well. It's not done and dusted, for Group GTB and who's going to claim the top honours. And if Charlotte Gilbert could, I think Nick Phelps has got flat spots or has got ABS problems. Again, runs wide there. Charlotte Gilbert takes up the lead of the group. So the Marcos goes through into the lead of Group GTB. And if that's the case, it would mean that Donington Park has been a reasonably happy hunting ground for her, because it was in April here where Charlotte claimed a win in Group GTB in the Marcos, and that's her sole group win so far. So now she's through it into the lead of the group. It could be another group win at Donington Park here. Now this is going to be the battle for second and third place. Seamus Jennings has been caught, and all of a sudden Sam Neary's got a problem. It looks as though the Mercedes is going to be out of the race, and all of a sudden, with a 37 3/4 second lead, Sam Neary, the championship leading car, is out of the race, and Seamus Jennings is just about to pass the stricken Mercedes, and he will know now that the fight that he's having with himself and the Lamborghini of John Dillon that sits behind is no longer for second place, it's now for the lead of the race. And John Dillon will know it as well, because he is now running side by side with the Porsche as they come up towards Goddard's. We saw a brief off there as well for the number 77 car. That's Mark Hopton recovering with his McLaren having had an issue. But we are now onto the last lap of the race. Now, what's happened to the Mercedes? Have they short-fueled it perhaps and it's run out of fuel, or is it just some sort of other technical issue? Because Sam Neary was about to start what was going to be the last lap of the race for him, and all of a sudden he's a very frustrated spectator. And that is, I think, going to be the first non-finish of the season for Sam Neary. He's looking around the back of the car as though something is not quite right. Now, those new curbs through the S's have caused a few problems for the cars. I hope he's not taken a bit too much curb, and that's what's been the issue for him round through there. Yeah, say it may well be just some sort of electrical gremlin, or maybe they've just short-fueled the car, simply don't know. But for the lead of the race now, we've got a great battle going on. Seamus Jennings having to drive a very wide Porsche. John Dillon looking to see whether he can sneak his way through. There's a bit of traffic just up the road to contend with as well, which is going to be the Ginetta of Simon Orange. A flash of the lights. Simon Orange sees what's coming, moves out of the way. He doesn't want to get involved because he's leading Group GTA. His teammate Josh Jackson, who is running second in Group GTH ahead. Seamus Jennings makes a small mistake going through the S's. That allows John Dillon to close. They're on their final lap. They're heading up towards the penultimate corner, past the stricken Mercedes of Sam Neary. And Seamus Jennings needs to get the car cleanly off this corner. John Dillon almost managing to get a bit of an overlap on the way out of the corner. Is it going to be on the brakes in towards Goddard's where they will go? They've got traffic to deal with as well. Seamus Jennings needs to park it on the exit and get cleanly off the corner. John Dillon always pushing him, coming out of the corner. It looks as though it is going to be a win for the GCAT Racing Porsche. Seamus Jennings comes through to claim the victory in what was a fantastic round 19 of the championship. John Dillon finishes in second place. There are still scores to be settled out there on circuit. We await the arrival of the third place car over the start finish line. It should be David Shaw that will finish in third place in the Porsche. Here comes the hordes of the Group GTH squabbles. James Guest comes through just ahead of John Whitehouse, so James Guest will complete the podium for Group GTH, finishing in third place overall. But what a race it was, and how unfortunate for what was Sam Neary. And also the progress continues on this final lap for car number 113, Tom Webb, who's put in a really good stint to finish. I think will be in fourth place overall. So here comes David Shaw, the Porsche, over the start finish line now, third overall, the winning Group GTC. And here comes the fourth place car. What a drive from Tom Webb. That goes down well with the team. Fantastic stuff from him to come through from 20th on the grid to finish in third position. Warren Gilbert in fourth place, and fifth place should go the way of the Ferrari, which will head up towards the checkered flag very shortly, which will be Roy Millington. The number 56 car will finish in fifth position. Here it comes now over the start finish line to finish in fifth place. Sixth place, finish in sixth place. Seventh place will be the number 24 McLaren, the blue and the yellow car of Andre Borodin, and then eighth place should be the winner in Group GTH, which will be Charles Clark, who's just taken the checkered flag. Paul Bailey will finish in ninth, and I think be Josh Jackson that completes the top 10. But for the GCAT racing team, that is a great result for Seamus Jennings. Say the car is non-championship scoring. We've not seen it at every round, but that is their first overall win of the season. They took a fifth place at Brands Hatch earlier on in the season when they were in the GT Cup, but that is the first overall win for that Porsche in the GT Cup Championship over the course of this weekend. So we can guide you through the results very shortly indeed. And just to confirm the results, Seamus Jennings claims the win and the win in Group GT3 as well. In second place was John Dillon. Third place was David Shaw. He claims top honours in Group GTC, with Tom Webb with a charging drive in fourth place, ahead of Warren Gilbert in fifth and Roy Millington in sixth. Andre Borodin finished in seventh place. Charles Clark finished in eighth and took the win in Group GTH, whilst Paul Bailey from the back of the grid claimed ninth place in the win in Group GTO, and it was going to be Josh Jackson who completes the top 10. In 11th position, it was Simon Orange. He was the first of the cars home in Group GTA, ahead of James Simons, who was there in 12th place, and James Guest in 13th place. 14th place was going to be John Whitehouse. 15th place was Craig Wilkins, ahead of Mike Price. Then Stuart Libb, David Holloway, Ian Campbell, and Cole Cavers wrapped up the top 20. So that's it from me. I'll hand you back downstairs to Michelle, who's in the pit lane.
Thanks, Mark. Well, a really disappointing result there for ABBA Racing. And Sam Neary, I've just spoken to Richard, and it was a gearbox failure, so that's what took the car out. We thought the cars were all going to go to Parc Fermé. In fact, they're heading back into the garages, and that's ahead of a podium, which we'll absolutely film and bring you a little bit later on. But as far as the sprint race goes, that is it for now from Donington. We're going to be back just before 4:45 for that pit stop race. So I hope you can join us. In the meantime, do keep an eye out on all the social medias, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, GT Cup, where you can get all the latest up-to-date information and, of course, all the results. We'll see you in a few hours' time.